Okay, so just found out Johnny Depp is actually testifying now. So I'm gonna be here just reacting to Johnny Depp testifying essentially. Um but yeah, anyone who wants to join later can join. Um but yeah, I'm gonna start it now. It's not going to be a long stream. It's just as long as he's testifying. I'm hoping it gets to the cross examination as well, so we get both sides of this story. But hey, man, it's crazy. So I'm here to react. I like trials and analyzing them, from a more kind of objective perspective. So I'm just going to see what's happening. Yo, widow already. You got here quick.
Yeah, I didn't think you were live yet.
Oh, sorry. Uh, there was something you wanted to talk about, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, okay. We'll do it after, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool, no problem. So,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear the thing? Have I shared it? I've shared the screen. Right, yeah. Right.
Okay, there you go. So is
This
he
is gonna
just
be
now getting
interesting.
ready to testify?
Well, actually, it's started already, so it's already going. So we're a bit behind. We're not
Okay.
quite live,
Good
but
afternoon,
he's
Mr.
still
Depp.
testifying on the stand.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the jury why you're here today?
Yes. About 6 years ago, Ms. Heard made some quite heinous and disturbing, brought these disturbing criminal acts against me that
What do you think his angle
were not
here is?
based
Do you think
in
he's trying to act calm
any
or
species of truth.
trying
Yeah.
to be like himself?
It was
So
it was a
doesn't seem
complete
like an
shock that it
He's
would.
trying to be calm and not too different.
It just didn't
like
need
he
to
is.
go in that direction. As
Because I know I don't know him, but I've seen him in
nothing of the kind had ever happened.
other interviews, and this
Though
is how he kind of talks. But
the
in
relationship,
this context, it comes across
there were
performative, but it's not. It's actually him.
Yeah.
arguments and things of that nature, but never did I myself reach the point of striking Miss Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman in my life. And so I
believe you.
at the time, because the news of this, her accusations had sort of permeated the industry and then made its way through media and social media, became quite a global
You want to cover that one, actually?
let's
What?
say,
We'll
quote
tell you in a-
unquote,
go on.
fact, if you
What
will.
he's accused of?
And
Domestic
I don't know
violence.
if he
since I knew that there was no truth to it
domestic
whatsoever,
violence. I didn't know if he was being
I
serious
felt
or
it
not.
my responsibility to stand up not only for myself in that instance, but stand up for my children, who at the time were 14 and 16. And so they were in high school, and
I feel Johnny though, really.
I thought it was diabolical that my
Really.
children would have to go to school and have their friends or people in the school approach them with the infamous People magazine cover with Miss Heard with a dark bruise on her face. And then it just kept it kept multiplying. It just kept getting bigger and bigger. So it was
You
my
know, be good on the
responsibility, I
stand, 'cause
felt,
he's good at
to
the
not
moment.
only attempt to clear my name
But he's practiced
for the
this, though.
sake,
You know that.
Oh yeah.
for many reasons, but
Like
I
they've
wanted to
said
clear
what, you know, they've
my
done it.
children of
You know, they've
this horrid thing that they
both taken it, you know,
were
like
having to read about
gone
their
through
father, which
this
was
side
untrue.
of it where he's being questioned
And
by
also,
them,
after many years
and
of being
the
in
other side of it
this
where he's being questioned
industry,
by her team.
at
So
the time, it was
this is a
probably,
well-prepared speech, but he's making
I'd
it
probably
seem
been
very
in the industry
natural.
30
It's
plus
good
years,
for him.
35 years. Never had any problems, anything like that. And I had met many people over the years, many of the people, and had the opportunity to talk to those people and to even give advice to these people. And I'm not, my goal is the truth. My goal is the truth because it killed me that people that I had spoken with, that I had met with over the years, who maybe were in a not such a great position and they needed advice, and I gave them the best advice I could. All I could think of was that those people would think that I was a fraud and that I had lied to them. And so I
think
had
he's
to wait
trolling. I don't know if he's
for my
trolling.
opportunity to address the charges, which were criminal charges. And they just weren't true. So I felt the responsibility of clearing the record as the only way that I could get to the point where I could speak has really taken this full 6 years. And it's been 6 years of trying times. It's very strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo.
Yep.
And I didn't deserve that, nor did my children, nor did the people who have believed in me for all these years. I didn't want any of those people to believe that I had done them wrong or lied to them or that I was a fraud. I pride myself on honesty. I pride myself on truth. Truth is the only thing I'm interested in. Other lies will get you nowhere, but lies build upon lies and build upon lies. It's too much to cover. I'm obsessed with the truth, and so today is the first opportunity that I've been able to speak about this case. in full for the first time.
He needs to cut himself off right now.
Mr. Depp, how do you feel about the intimate details of your
See,
life being aired in
The
this
lawyer
process?
went in. That's funny.
As a father, raising kids, when they were very, very little, it was important to me, very important to me, to try to shield my children as much as possible from looking at their father or their mom, for that matter, as novelties. I didn't want my children to experience hordes of paparazzis. So I was always a very private person. So for me to come up here and stand before you, or sit before you all, and spill the truth is quite exposing. And it's unfortunate that it's not only exposing for myself, it's exposing for my family, it's exposing for Miss Heard, it's exposing for, it never had to go in this direction. And so I can't say that I'm embarrassed, because I know that I'm doing the right thing.
Now, Mr. Depp, I'd like to turn a bit
Another
to your
good
upbringing.
answer.
We heard a bit from your sister Christy
Yeah,
last
I
week.
mean,
But can you
it's
please tell the jury in your own words about your childhood upbringing?
I had a very interesting childhood, one that I thought was normal until a certain age. My mother, I was born in Kentucky, and
Wow.
then we moved,
It's your neck of the wood.
in which we moved
Yeah.
around quite a lot when I was a kid. So you
must
were
be
always
something about Kentucky.
just, my mom had this, her feet were on fire and she had to move, so we moved constantly. So you were always the new kid, and that wasn't ever particularly pleasant. Then we moved to Florida, South Florida, when I was about 7 or 8. And again, moved several times. But my mother was quite unpredictable. She was very unpredictable. She was she had the ability to be as cruel as anyone can be, with all of us. That is to say, my sister Christy and my brother Danny and my sister Debbie, also my father. So essentially, she was she could become quite violent, and she was quite violent, and she was quite cruel, and though there was physical abuse, certainly, which could be in the form of an ashtray being flung at you, it hits you in the head, or you'd get beat with a high heel shoe, or a telephone, or whatever's handy. So in our house, we were never exposed to any type of safety or security. The only thing that one could do, really, was to try to stay out of the line of fire. I started to be able to observe, and I could start to see when she was about to head into a situation where she was going to get riled up, and somebody was going to get it.
And this is probably why he got together
generally,
with Amber Heard.
What?
It's probably why he's
It was
attracted to that kind of woman.
Mr. Depp, you
In a
mentioned that your
weird
mother
way.
could be cruel. How could she be cruel?
Or it could be the reason that he abused
Well,
her.
the various
If
categories.
he did, but I doubt it.
You know, I just
There's physical violence, of
I
course.
just feel a
There's
certain way
physical
about
abuse.
this.
Go on.
To which she was.
No, it's just like a
That was a
personal
constant.
thing, really.
That was just a constant.
I mean, if you want to say it in the
Well, I know
personal
recently
terms,
I've been accused of being abusive to someone who was actually abusive to me. I have all the receipts and all the evidence, and all I did was not want to be in a relationship with someone and was trolled and abused and harassed. But now I have been called an abuser, which I find to be funny. That's all I wanted to
see what
say.
you're saying. Okay. So yeah, but like it's kind of like you're seeing that somebody, men in that situation can be really good actors when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, really great actors. And
That's
people will believe
interesting.
you, will believe them. It's like the Kanye West effect. You know what I mean? Once they don't get what they want, and then it's the next thing. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Interesting.
We were all somewhat shell shocked. Even if she just walked past us, you'd sort of shield yourself because you didn't know what was going to happen. Excuse me. And so there was the physical abuse, which was a constant. There was quite a lot of verbal abuse. There was quite a lot of name calling and bullying. Making fun of whatever defect one might have. If my brother wore glasses, so of course he was four eyes, and his teeth were messed up in the front, so he was buck-toothed as well. My sister Christy, which this is such a hideous psychological play. My father's parents were quite refined. My mother comes from Eastern Kentucky, which is where you grow up in shacks and hollers, And my mother despised my father's parents, and my grandmother's name was Violet, and every now and again you would hear my mother just scream across the house, "Come here, Violet, get in here, Violet." And Christy, my sister, knew very well that was
I'm curious what's going to happen to him under cross-examination.
Psychologically, emotionally. But
very curious.
We had to take it. I mean, you just had to take the pain.
Because
I was born.
You hold yourself really
with a very strange,
really
very rare.
If you go to, if you allow yourself to, if you testify, and then you can be cross-examined.
The back of the lens is spherical. Normally, is spherical. So in this eye is normal. This eye, I was born with a more conical lens. So my brain never learned to see out of my left eye. And they noticed when I was about 3, 4, that I had a lazy eye wandering eye, and she would call me cockeye, one eye, anything she could get to demean, humiliate. I even had to wear an eye patch on my good eye to strengthen my bad eye, so that it would cease to wander. It was exercising the muscles of the eye, though the brain had never learned to see. So I still, my vision in my left eye is, I'm legally blind in my left eye. But so yeah, the verbal abuse, the psychological abuse was almost worse than the beatings, because the beatings were just physical pain, and the physical
That's not
pain,
true. Not in my case.
you learn to deal with. You learn to accept it. You learn to.
I could deal with psychological abuse. It's fine. Well, it's not fine. It's terrible.
But
but it's not as bad.
Psychological and emotional abuse. That's
horrible.
That's what kind of tore us up, I think.
I mean,
What about your father? What was he like?
Not to like underplay psychological abuse and stuff like that. I think it's terrible.
It's freaking mental warfare. It's not good.
It's not good, but like getting beaten is not.
No, I've been there.
Beaten properly, like that's not. I'd take somebody like fucking with my head.
I don't know, like
more than a beat, continuously being beaten. It's horrible.
I mean, yeah.
To me, I don't know. Maybe because I've always been strong mentally. Like people can't really play with me.
See, I'm not. I feel like I'm such I'm where I have really bad anxiety, and then I have paranoia with it. So it's really easy. You know what I mean? With me, it's like,
Maybe that's the difference. Like,
and
I don't have that kind of thing. But yeah, it will be horrible if you suffer from like anxiety or depression or paranoia. But I've never been very paranoid. Like whenever like someone would say something about like me when I was younger, it did hurt, and I do have my doubts about it myself because of things that were said to me when I was younger. But I remember even then just thinking, I'm great, like I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, there's a part of me that's just really, I guess, maybe a little narcissistic, a little bit egotistical. You all right?
Huh?
You okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe that helped me. I don't know, but maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm the type of guy who's like, it's bad. Like, a boss would be telling me to do stuff, and I know he's an idiot, and I'll clap back at them. I won't be rude, but I'll clap back at them. So, and I think in a way, it's funny. I think back at it now, and I'm like, it's not like I'm happy that this happened to me when I was a child, but I know it made me stronger, and I appreciate that. Like I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. I just I internalize things too much.
I'm sorry to hear that. You're fantastic. I really like you.
I love you.
I'm very fond of you. Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of bringing up some stuff. It's kind of interesting, but anyway,
yeah.
My father was a very kind man. In fact, my father's still alive. He's a very kind man. He's a very quiet man. In fact, he's very shy. Not a confrontational person in any way. And when Betty Sue, my mother, would go off on a tangent toward my father, and of course in front of the kids it was no matter to her. He amazingly remained very, very stoic, and never,
Has his
as she
sister
was
testified
rationing
towards this?
him with horrible things, he stood there and just looked at her while she delivered the pain,
Thanks, WZ.
and he swallowed it. He took it. There was never one moment, never a moment when my father lost control and attacked my mother or hit my mother or even said a bad thing to my mother. The things that I witnessed there were a couple of times when it got too far that I could see his eyes welling up as he was staring at her, saying nothing. And then the most that he would do is he would punch a wall. I once saw him punch a wall and shatter his hand because it wasn't drywall. It was proper concrete and
You
steel
just said
wire,
I would do
rebar.
something. What,
That's
things of
abuse.
that
That's
nature.
still
And,
a rage and abuse of some
but
kind. If someone's breaking things, punching holes in the wall, that's not good.
yeah, but if it's better than him hitting her.
But I'm
If that's
still
his reaction to hit her hitting him,
I
and
mean,
he
it's
only
still
hits
not
a
great.
wall, it's not, well, you know. But I was going to ask you, didn't he just say I used to do something? Like he was about to say I would confront my mother because his dad wouldn't, and then he stopped saying it.
Yeah.
Like I felt like he just said that. Let's just go back. Someone just showed me a trick earlier. Going
Showed
back
you a
10
trick.
seconds. You can go back 10 seconds by pressing J on a Mac.
And then the most that he would do is he would punch a wall. I once saw him punch a wall and shatter his hand because it wasn't drywall. It was proper concrete.
Okay, I didn't go back far enough.
Steel wire and rebar and things of that nature. And but still never touched her, never argued with her. He remained a gentleman. And to me, as a 5-year-old boy, I kept thinking to myself, I kept wondering why does he take it? How does he take this?
How does he remember this as a 5-year-old?
Why doesn't he leave her? But he didn't, you know. He was able to maintain his calm and his composure. He was able to maintain
this shit from 5
his
years
relationship with his children.
Not like I didn't
You don't
remember
forget
stuff.
that stuff, yeah.
No, I remember stuff from 5 years old.
He was a good man.
You saw what you
He
saw.
is a good man.
Confident.
You mentioned that you saw your
understood
father
anything.
punch a wall. How many times did you witness that?
That is true, Jack.
I mean, out of
crazy does feed crazy.
out of
sometimes.
I couldn't count the amount of fights that they had, but I know that I've seen my father strike a wall 2 or 3 times tops. Once when he broke his hand.
Sounds familiar. It's
Yeah,
like something you did to your own
2,
finger.
3 times at tops. You know.
Jesus.
Was your father ever abusive to you? or
Does
any
it,
of your
Nerdman? Am I
siblings?
wrong though?
No, my
No,
father was
but
never.
like,
My father
fine.
was not an
I'll see
abusive
what
man.
happens, and because I still, you have to send me a link to.
At the same time, my
what
father
he says
Apparently,
was
it's
after
been
also,
put into evidence already. I have to find. Let me see if I can find.
to some degree, at the mercy of Betty Sue,
I need to do research right now.
because if he argued with what she wanted done, that would just turn into another barrage of hatred towards him. So I can remember my father coming home from work, and maybe I'd gotten a
Peace,
bad
man.
report card, or maybe I'd gotten in trouble at school, or something like that. And my father would arrive home from work, and the first thing she would say was, "John, take him out there. He gets the belt. Give him the belt." And he wanted to know what it was about, so he'd take me out to the garage, and I'll never forget this white, thick leather 1970s era, thick leather white belt that he would take off, and then he would commence to inflict the punishment on me.
Well, then he used to abuse
but-
you too.
Interestingly, there was
Yeah, but it's
there
her
was one
fault.
time when my
She
father,
told him to do it, but like,
How's that
I
her
mean,
fault?
I kept telling
I
him
want to say
I
that.
didn't
Yeah,
do
can you
this.
pause this
It
because
was
I do
another
want to say
incident.
this
I kept swearing to him that I did not do
about
what
that.
Betty Sue, what my mom.
Like, and like, if his mother's like from, and I'm not like condoning because I don't believe in spanking. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with that, anything like that. But especially in that time, and being, I know around here, and I still seen it happen. Like, if the
It
kid
was
does
normal.
something, it's old school. Like, for when the dad comes home, mom would be like, well, especially if it was a boy, you know what I mean? He did such and such, and then daddy would spank him, you know?
Yeah, I get that, but like,
Yeah, it's like,
I
I
don't,
don't get that point.
I my mother wasn't around when my stepfather did some of the more severe stuff, but she knew that he spanked me, and or not spanked. His wasn't spanking. His was beating. Let's put it that way. That wasn't.
Yeah.
There was a very distinct difference. The kind of materials he would use is like hardwood, like thick,
Oh, yeah.
and like not a belt and all of this kind of stuff. Um, you know, if it was a belt, I might have been able to deal with it. It was like always something a lot harder, thicker, and swung extremely hard. But anyway, she was aware of like when he would do it with like a clothesline, or you know, like something like yeah, like a belt, not like hardcore, like he used to, that he would do when she wasn't there. But I still kind of like say, hey, you have some responsibility here. You don't let a guy into your house and just let some dude like discipline your children. You do, you know what I mean? Like that's partially your responsibility, and to the degree that I minimize it is only because I care for her so much. She never hit me herself. She's never struck me. I think she hit me on that hand once with a shoe. That was the maximum she did. he was the one always instigating that kind of level of things. But because she comes from African, that was her kind of culture. That was normal to her. She just didn't see the more excessive stuff. But again, I still have to hold her somewhat responsible. And I think it's kind of weird that the mother goes to him, hey, go and hit him, and you're blaming her for that. I mean, that's his problem as well. He was part of it. You know what I'm saying? And what were you going to say? Sorry.
With you.
Sorry?
I said I was just agreeing with what you were saying, though. I was just bringing up the point that, like, when he's saying that, trying to make her, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's what I was going to say. That's just like an old, like, school traditional thing with the spanking. Like, that's not.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not saying that his mother wasn't this type of person, because I no.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, but it's like he's been going on like his dad isn't violent. Well, he is.
Yeah.
Because he beat you.
Exactly.
Like, that is violence. Like, so
Yeah.
he wasn't just a calm, subdued, didn't do anything if he beat you. You've just kind of created a phantasm in your head about your mother. And that actually makes me worry about him. Because him admitting that makes me worry about his view of women.
Mm-hmm.
That he would demonize his mother like that. And yet his father, who was there observing all of this, let this happen, didn't walk away with his children saying this is abusive kind of stuff. He's all like, oh, he's just this gentle, innocent angel, and the mother is this demonic creature. That makes me very worried about him, actually. I still doubt he did anything to Amber Heard, but that raises some interesting thoughts about what he thinks about women.
Yeah. It's like he has issues, and maybe it's sad because he probably did experience all this stuff with his mother, but there's this type of person who loves to be a victim, who always in a situation two people can be wrong, but on their end they're always building their case, right? Building up the situation however they deem fit, and in their minds, maybe in his mind, that's how he truly feels about women and children. And I'm not saying, I think that Amber Heard, she obviously, because she's admitted, we know she put her hands on him, you know what I'm saying? Like, but was he engaging in this behavior? I don't really. From what I understand, and this is what I the kind of thing is, I get it, because like I'm also that type of person, not because I'm can't deal, like that I won't engage in conflict. I tend to try to walk away from the conflict, because I know I'm the type of person that if I don't, I'm going to be like, well, F you, da, 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 and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? And it's not necessary. You know what I mean? Where are you going to get with that? And then when you're upset and you go like, well, I'm done, I'm not doing this right now, or I'm not having this conversation with you, and you try to walk away, and then that person is like, continuously coming at you and coming at you and coming at you and coming at you, and then you give them putting your hands on anybody is never a proper response, in my opinion, unless you're defending yourself, right? So maybe in that type of situation that was happening. I know in my situations, like I will be like, look, I'm done with this. And then, you keep coming. And then I'm like, well, mother F you, all that, because that's how I am, because I know that I'm going to try to my best, because I feel myself getting upset. I feel myself raising to a level, and I know that it's not going to go anywhere that's good. So I try to separate myself from the situation.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then there's
I get
those
it.
people that can't deal with that, so they have to keep pursuing it and pursuing it, and then the situation escalates. So maybe in that type of situation, after how he did say that he walked away, maybe she's also right in the sense that after he would walk away and she would continue berating him, then he might have, hit her, and after that, I don't know. Or maybe
Mm.
it was just where he was, so high on drugs he don't even remember, and he was acting in ways that were outside of himself because he has dependency issues even.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to deal with this at a certain point. But again, I just thought I find it illuminating. I feel like he probably didn't hit her, but he may have talked very degradingly to her or stuff. Just because, again, if you're in a if you're in a household with an abusive person, right, and you have children, I understand that there's certain parts of, especially with women who are very vulnerable, very submissive, that not women in general, I'm just saying women in abusive relationships that happen to be submissive. Right? So just so you know what I'm saying, I'm not saying all women, but women in those situations, there's a kind of thing where they can't escape the relationship, and I understand that. But this doesn't seem like one of those situations. Or my mother, for instance, wasn't one of those situations that she can escape the relationship. She didn't want to escape. You know what I mean? Like there was a thing of like she just did. There was it was maybe tradition or maybe whatever the reasoning behind it was. Maybe she actually genuinely cared for him. I don't know, but there there's this thing of like the children looking at it and trying to make one of the people into the bad person and the other one into the good person in that situation. But if a strong enough person, and my mother was stronger than my stepfather, she's like way stronger. If a strong enough person can see abuse happening and they don't walk away, no matter how kind to you they were, no matter how many ice creams they bought you, no matter how nice in other ways they were to you, they still stayed in that abusive thing. So like when he's looking at this guy and saying he was so nice, he was so sweet, and she tells you beat him, and he beats you, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be looking at him as purely innocent then, just because she gave the command. He could have taken him out and like just pretended to hit him and not, and had a talk with him instead. No, he beat him. That just, and again, we'll listen to the rest to see how it goes. It's probably more something as his therapist should tell him than proof of his guilt.
Yeah.
I'd said that I'd done, but he went through with the punishment anyway. And then, not long after, he found out that I had been telling the truth and that I hadn't done what my mom had said that I'd done. And he came to me and apologized to me for having gone through with the whipping, the belt. And I have to say, my mom never did that. She couldn't. She knew what she knew. She was raised how she was raised. And I had no power to change what was inside of her,
How did your parents' relationship ultimately come to an end, to your understanding?
When my father left, I didn't realize that he had left. He left for, I was 15. I had already left school, and I was a musician. I was playing in clubs and such. And he left for work one morning, just like every day, and was packing his car, and then he left. And then hours later, my mom, Betty Sue, came home from work. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon. And she walked in the door and stopped and just looked around like she felt something. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Your daddy's gone." I said, "Well, yeah, I seen him leave for work this morning." She said, No, he's gone, he's gone. And she ran into their bedroom and into their closet, and I followed her, and she opened the door, and there was his rack of clothing and all his belongings were gone. And she was quite upset. And I took her car and drove to my father's work.
I found
and
the
I
audio
sat
clip
down in
before
front of
the
him at
finger
15, and I said, "Listen, seems as though..."
Let's
I
play
meant
it.
to tell you
You
that a
want to
long
share
time
it?
ago. Yeah, I can share it.
How long is it? Is it long?
It's 11. This one's only 11 minutes. It's from the Daily Mail.
Should we finish this line of questioning and
It's
then
whatever you want to do.
put it in
It's
between?
however you want to do it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So
No, I
somebody
was just
stole
letting
all
you
your
know. I
clothes out
found it 'cause you asked me to.
Yeah,
That's all.
Thanks.
of the closet. And he said, yeah. He said, "I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't live it anymore. You're the man. You're the man now." And those words didn't quite sit well with me. I didn't feel like I was ready to hear those words, but that's what I got. Then my mom went into a very, very dark place, a very deep, dark depression, as you can imagine. And she, one afternoon, I woke up. I'd fallen asleep, and I woke up and walked out into the living room, and I saw my mother, like very feebly, and like almost, it was like a slow motion crawl. If I could stand up, I could show you just what I saw. Do you mind? Do you want?
You can stand up.
Thank you. I saw my mother, in that mode. So instantly, I knew that something was dreadfully wrong, and there's drool coming out of her mouth. And as I was about to run and call, the front door busted open, and my uncle and two paramedics came in and threw on the gurney and whisked her out of the house to get her to the hospital to pump her stomach. She had swallowed a multitude of pills to try to take herself out, to try to commit suicide. And when she got out of the hospital, she was a small firecracker of a woman. She was about 5'2". But when she got out of the hospital, the depression was so deep. She was down to, like, she lived on the couch, and she weighed about 70 pounds. And all that imagery spun into my head at that time that I thought that was in my head at the time, I thought that that was a cowardly way for my father to have left. And I was deeply upset by that. Until my father and I had a conversation years later where I asked him what really happened, how did it happen when I was older, and he told me the story.
Your Honor, may we approach? Sure.
I don't get this. What is this? What's happening here?
I have no idea.
I mean, it's all very interesting. Not that I care to know all this much stuff about Johnny Depp and his father and what, but what's the?
It's just like going into like his history and his child
I get
history
it,
of
but like,
abuse.
it's horrible. But I like for a moment I forgot I was watching a Johnny Depp trial, and I was just like mesmerized by like, oh, this is an interesting story, and oh, it's
Yeah.
like
But what
watching
does
a
this have
trial.
to do with the defamation cases, is what you're saying?
Not even that, because I get it. It's like background, and they want
Yeah.
to go into the abuse, but he's being so detailed. I mean, you should like say like I was abused and this, that, and the other, but now
I get
he's
that.
doing the whole story of the narrative of everything that happened.
I'm
When
like
he
that
talked to
too.
his
I like,
father.
yeah, I'm the same. I get it, like, cause you like say everything that you can think of.
Mr. Depp,
You
how did
know,
you feel about your father when he
he's
left?
probably trying to be thorough. They probably told him to tell every detail. You know,
Mm.
I mean, he
I
is
would,
building his, and this.
I was, I was, I was very disappointed in him because I started to believe that his exit was sneaky, cowardly. He didn't. When he said goodbye to me when he left for work that morning, he just said goodbye. Goodbye, Bob. No, see you later, Pop. That was it. Until I learned the truth from him.
And without getting into what your father told you, how has your impression of your father changed now?
Objection, relevance.
Your
Yeah,
Honor, this is just an understanding of his perception of his family.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
yeah, exactly. It's no relevance.
Mr. Depp, what have you learned from your experience in your childhood and observing your father in your childhood?
I learned that I was wrong about my first impressions of his exit from the family. Very wrong. And I'll tell you one thing that I learned that was one of the best lessons I believe I've ever learned in my life, ever could learn in my life, was based on my experiences as a child and what I'd seen and experienced. I knew exactly how to raise children when my girl Vanessa got pregnant. I knew exactly how to raise children, which was to do the opposite of what they did, of what Betty Sue did. Never raise your voice in front of the children, never. Screaming out the word no to them. I never wanted to tell my kids no. I wanted to tell them that I wanted to show them that there were options. You don't have to stick the coat hanger in the electrical socket. Saying no is an abrupt thing, but to talk to them and say, if you understand the repercussions of something, then you won't go there. So maybe think about this as opposed to this. Give this some thought, you know. But that will clearly, that could kill you. So I would ease them away from things of that nature with a more of a conversation as opposed to a flat out, don't you ever do that again, and threats and things of that nature. I did not raise my children that way. Nor did Vanessa. We never raised our voices in front of our children ever.
How do you
And-
think your experiences with your parents in your childhood affected your approach to your relationship with Miss Heard?
I'm sorry, one more time.
How did your experiences observing your parents as a child affect your approach to your relationship with Miss Heard?
Well, in the beginning of my relationship with Miss Heard, there was, from what I recall and what I remember, she was it was as if she was too good to be true. She was attentive, she was loving, she was smart, she was kind, she was funny, she was understanding, and we had many things in common, certain blues music and, well, music, literature, things of that nature. So for that year or year and a half, it was amazing. There were a couple of things that, I don't know, stuck in my head that I noticed that I thought might be a little bit of a dilemma at some point. For example, if I worked quite a lot, and when I would come home from work, I would come in the house or the hotel, and she would sit me down on the couch and give me a glass of wine and take my boots off, set them to the side, and I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. I just
You want to hear
never-
something crazy?
I
What?
was
I've done that before.
never experienced that
I
before,
wasn't listening to him. What
and
did
it
he do?
became a regular
Talking about how it's,
thing.
I did. I mean, I would
Um,
never do that now. I took off my husband's shoes.
And what did you do with him?
I would take his shoes off for him. I wouldn't take his socks off. I wasn't touching his actual, but I would take his shoes off.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something else.
No, because he's talking about how
I
she
threw-
would take his shoes
But she
off,
did.
like, and all that, and I would fix his plate and bring it to him, like
Yeah.
all that dumb stuff. When he
My ex threw my shoes out the window, but I did it to her as well.
I've never
When we
thrown
didn't want
anybody's
it-
shoes out
when
the
we didn't
window.
want
Did
each
you?
other
Is that
to
what you
leave.
thought that I was gonna say?
Yeah.
No, I've never. Wow, man, I've never done anything like that.
Well, we did it to each other. It was
The wor-
bad.
The
Like,
worst thing
it
I
was-
ever.
Yeah, go
I was gonna say the worst thing I ever, when it's bad though, but I was standing in the doorway and I was calling his name and I was like, because I was cleaning things up in the kitchen and I was like, do you want this? Because he was outside like changing tires or something and helping his friend. Actually, he was changing the tires. And he was like, what did you say? And this is after like him like being in my face for days, and then he comes to the screen door and he like slaps it and it hits me in my face, right? At that
Uh,
point, like he
but
got me.
accident.
No, he did it on purpose. He was trying to hit me in my face with because I was coming out the screen door and he slapped it back on me. And so I took like it was like because it was the month after my birthday and he got me my gemstone. It had my gemstone and in it. I took it outside where he could see it and I took a hammer to it and I smashed it.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's like the worst thing I like when it comes to a situation like that. But that was like after like because he would like like because he did that deliberately. Like he would like push me and do those kind of things,
yeah,
and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. I think that, I mean, the only bad thing I've really, well, and it's really bad, is cheat. But those were like earlier relationships,
I did that.
like in my 20s and stuff like that when I didn't. So that's like I've never physically done anything, or as I said, I threw her shoes out of a window once.
Yeah.
And it was because like she said she wanted to leave to go somewhere. Turns out I was right about it though in the end, because I was like suspicious of some boys she was hanging out with, but in the end we like became friends and I was just cool with him. But he always looked kind of terrified when he was around me because I was like twice his size. I always had this thing of, why are you like looking like you're scared? And apparently he did like come onto her when, like, I found out after we broke up that he did come onto her and they once like kissed or something like that when I was, but then she didn't do anything. Or maybe she did and she didn't tell me, but I don't know. Either way. Um yeah. So that was the one time I threw her shoes out of the window because she was like saying she was gonna leave after she'd just come back from hanging out with like this guy or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah, like you probably would not even like recognize who I used to be because I was like, I used to be like not like stick up for myself in them situations, nothing, just like he would get drunk and just act crazy or take drugs and act crazy and throw things. Like one time I came downstairs and my whole kitchen table was turned over, right where he flipped it over and then he like opened my cabinets and like threw a bunch of broken plates everywhere and then he was laying on the floor. I found him sleep with all these broken plates around him, just like turning his head like he's sleeping peacefully in a bed.
wow,
Hmm.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just remembering my flatmate did something similar. Anyway, yeah, like people are crazy, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're the only normal ones, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
let's
This kind of routine. And I remember one night I came home from work and I think she was on the phone or something and or busy. She was doing something. And so I sat down on the couch and I took my boots off and suddenly Miss Hurd approached with this look on her face that she just said, "What did you just do? What did you do?" So what do you mean? You took your boots off. I said, "Yeah, yes, I did. You were busy, you know." No. That's my job. That's what I do. You don't do that. I do that. Okay. All right then. And then she said, "Let me get you a glass of wine." And she brought me the glass of wine. But I did take pause, of course, at the fact that she was visibly shaken or upset that I had broken her rules of routine. I thought that strange. And then once you notice something like that, then you start to notice other little tidbits and things that come out. And then within a year and a half, she had become this another person almost.
Mr. Depp, we're going to talk about Miss Heard in a couple minutes, but I'd like to first talk about your career in Hollywood. And so could you please tell the jury how you ended up acting in the first place?
I ended up acting by accident. I was a musician, and I moved out to Los Angeles with my band when I was 20 years old. And then there were a couple of things that happened in the band where the band split up. And
Hello.
I remember I was filling out job applications, and then
How are you?
Good
morning.
A friend of mine, and who happens to be, he was an actor, less known than he is now, Nicolas Cage.
How are you?
And I was filling out job applications at any video stores, clothing stores, anything, and just to be able to pay the rent. And Nick Cage said, why don't you meet my agent? Because I think you're an actor. I think you could be an actor. And I said, look, I'll meet anybody, I'll do anything at this point. And so he sent me to his agent, Eileen Feldman, and I met with her. She sent me to read for a casting director named Annette Benson, who was casting a film called The Nightmare on Elm Street. And they brought me back to read for the director, Wes Craven. And I read for Wes Craven and somehow got the job. But I mean, I was by no means an actor. I didn't have any desire to be an actor. I was a musician. But the fact that these people were going to pay me what I found to be a ludicrous sum of money, which was it was kind of the SAG minimum. It was $1,284 a week, which I'd never seen that kind of dough before in my life. And so I suddenly, and then I did some other couple of dumb movies because I still, in my mind, I was a musician, and this was just a way to pay the rent, pay the bills, live. Then suddenly I found myself on that road. I had been placed on that road as an actor, and then one thing led to another, from film to film, and then I was cast in a TV series called 21 Jump Street when I was 22, I believe.
Mr. Depp, between the time that you were cast in Nightmare on Elm Street and you were cast in 21 Jump Street, how did you enjoy acting during that time?
It was foreign to me. But I didn't have any great ambition to be an actor. I'm a normally. I've always been quite a shy person. I've always been quite introverted. And so there was a very strange metamorphosis from being one of four, that is to say, one of four in a band where you have this fraternity or this brotherhood, and you're out there fighting the world together to try to get that record deal or whatever you're looking for. And when I got on the series and my life started to change in various ways, that is to say that people started to, you go into a restaurant and you'd see people whispering and pointing and all that. I was very uncomfortable with it. I was very uncomfortable with it, and I didn't like it. Just because I never wanted to be the lead singer and the guy out front and will get all the attention, and I didn't. So suddenly I was on my own, and I was having to deal with this newfound sort of notoriety, and it was odd. It was very odd, and it was a very uncomfortable thing. I mean, I don't think it's anything that one can get used to. I'm still not used to it now, and which I'm actually glad that I'm not used to it, because if I were, I don't think I'd be the same person that I am.
Mr. Depp, did there come a time when you became passionate about acting?
Once I realized that that's the road that I was on, and
What's been
any
happening?
attempt at going back to music would
Sorry, I was gone for a bit.
be a
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard. So,
He's talking
And I'm-
about being a
I'm not-
musician.
it would have been. I hated the idea that since the television series had come out and
And how he
had
got
been
the part as
exposed
Wes
as
Craven.
this character or this actor,
he got the part as Wes
I
Craven.
had to
Said,
realize
or maybe
in my
somebody. I thought he
own
said Wes
mind and
Craven.
heart that there was no going back to music, because I didn't want to,
Or maybe he's talking about.
I didn't want to use whatever amount of success that I had attained from the TV series and that sort of thing. I didn't want to use that to influence, some career in music. I had far too much respect for music than to just become what they wanted me to become, which was a teen idol or a teeny that sort of thing. I fought that with everything in my being. So once I realized that music was no longer an option, then I began to study at various places. The Loft Studio, which is now long gone, in Los Angeles. I studied with some other teachers, Sandra Seacat. I read all the books that you could read, and all that was great, but you realize that the only way to learn, or the only way to learn how to, it's not act necessarily, the only way to learn how to react and behave, because it's just behavior and it's reaction, was to do it. It's on the job training. It's trial by fire. So I did my best to work up my own approach towards a character and such.
And what were a couple of the first few projects that you worked on where you were really able to implement that approach?
I would say I would say that the first film that I had done that I really took, where I really felt, okay, I've done the work. I know what I need to do. I would say that was that where I considered myself an actor, I suppose, was when Oliver Stone cast me in Platoon in 1986.
How did you come to be cast in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Well, that's many years later, but I had been Disney had offered me a film called Hidalgo when it was about a man and his horse in the desert and stuff, and I read the screenplay, and I just didn't think it was for me. But I wanted to have a meeting with them because at that point I had a 2-year-old, two and a half year old daughter, and so or three, and for 3 years I watched nothing but animated films, cartoons from Tex Avery to Bugs Bunny to that was all I watched with my little girl, and I received the screenplay for Pirates, and it was I somehow in my mind I saw this opportunity, like a way to mesh characters like cartoon characters. For example, Wile E. Coyote gets a boulder dropped on his head and he's completely crushed, but they cut to the next scene and he's just got a little bandage on his head. So I started thinking about the parameters that were available to cartoon characters, and if they were available to cartoon characters,
How did he get an Oscar
and
nomination for that?
nobody ever asked a question whether you were 5 or 95. You didn't ask a question. Oh, Wile E. Coyote, of course he's still alive. So I tried to incorporate these kind of ideas into the character of Captain Jack Sparrow, so that I could try to push those parameters and control the sort of suspension of disbelief, to be able to control the characters' actions, words, movements, and put them in a place where the things that he would do or say were so either ludicrous or mainly something that also something the cartoon characters can get away with things we can't. Captain Jack Sparrow can do things that I could never do. He could say things that I could never say. So it was for me a way to stretch the parameters of a character and take a risk in doing that. But if it panned out, I felt I was on a pretty good mission. If it panned out, I thought that it might be a character who would be accepted by 5-year-olds and 45-year-olds and 65-year-olds and 85-year-olds, and in the same way that Bugs Bunny is,
You mentioned
believed.
You mentioned that you received the script. When was that?
I'm sorry.
When did you first receive the script for Pirates of the Caribbean?
The first screenplay I received was 2002, I believe. Yeah, 2002.
And what did you think of that script when you received it?
I thought that it had all the kind of hallmarks of a Disney film. That is to say, a kind of a predictable predictable 3-act structure, with and the character of Captain Jack was more, he was more like a swashbuckler type that would kind of swing in shirtless and, you know, be the hero. And I had quite different ideas about the character, so I incorporated my notes into character and brought that character to life, much to the chagrin of Disney initially.
Now, when you say you made changes to the character, how did you do that?
Just, you know, in preparation, you know, the very same way that I've ever approached any character. You look for a back history. You base it on, you know, it could be anything. Like Edward Scissorhands, for example, was I based on a dog that I'd had and newborn babies. My sister had a couple of new babies, and I watched them, you know, because I thought that Edward would see things from the sort of from a place of innocence, and not knowing exactly what things meant or were, and also that look of a pure, innocent child when they experience something for the first time. Those were the two main ingredients that I thought would serve the character. And with Captain Jack, again, the cartoons, you know, the Pepe Le Pew. It's like making a soup. You know, it's ingredients. It's just ingredients. There's some Pepe Le Pew in there. There's some Keith Richards in there. There's a bit of you know, I figured this is a guy who's been on the sea for the majority of his life. Quite possibly his brains may have been scrambled a bit by the sun. And also I thought that he'd been on the sea for so long that he had his sea legs, but when he got on land, he just didn't have his land legs. So he could never quite stand still.
How did the film ultimately turn out in your view?
I didn't see it, but I believe that the film, well, I mean, the film did pretty well apparently, and they wanted to keep going, making more, and I was fine to do that, as there's great freedom in being able to. It's not like you become that person, but if you know that character to the degree that I did, because he was not what the writers wrote, so they really weren't able to write for him. So once you know a character better than the writers, that's when you have to be true to the character and add your words, add the rewrites. I was, yeah, no, I believed in the character wholeheartedly, and the initially the Disney folks were somewhat upset.
Now, you mentioned that the film was, to your understanding, a great success. How did your life change after the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie came out?
Though I'd been around for many years already, and people knew who I was and all that. After Pirates 1 came out, there was completely different. It was a completely different way of life was being sort of, my family and I were being plunged into. That is to say, at our house in Los Angeles, you would have people trying to climb the gates to get into see Captain Jack Sparrow. You would have people trying to bust in the gates dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow. You would have and follow you and your family. So that was the moment when there was no other way but to we had to hire more security guards, and I was certainly worried for my kids' safety. And so then that's when instead of just the one guy, there became several security people, because I wanted to make sure that my kids were safe when they went to school, or when they went to Disneyland, or when they went to the mall or whatever. So yes, more security, and then just getting followed, by hordes of paparazzi and things like that. It's I've had worse jobs, certainly. I can't complain about it, but yeah, after a while you realize that anonymity has left the building a long time ago. The anonymity's gone, and that's an odd thing to deal with. When you can't just drive down to the diner and get a cup of coffee or something. It's not possible. It turns into something else altogether. So it's it's acceptance, and of course there's a bit of sacrifice involved. I can't complain about the work that I've been given. I can't complain about any of that. I have no right to.
Is this live?
But
no. But
it does make you have to think very creatively.
Why you want to fast forward through this?
No, I was just curious.
When you've got little kids, about how to take them to the park, or to the swings, or to the this or that, or movie, or it becomes a strategic.
I'm more just interested in
mission.
What he has to say about his relationship.
And that's what happened after Pirates.
Now, you mentioned your family. Who did your family consist of at that time?
Vanessa, Paradis, the mother of my children, who we were together for 14, 15 years. Myself, our daughter Lily Rose, and our boy Jack.
Now, you mentioned hiring more security. Did you already have a security team at the time that Pirates of the Caribbean came out?
Yes, because there'd been more films prior to that. I mean, a number of films prior to that. So I was recognized, and I was known. So if you wanted to attempt to have any experience that might be normal, you sort of had to have somebody around to get you out of a squirrely situation should it arise. So I had security prior to that for who would travel with myself and my family. But not like, when I was at work, back then I didn't have security at work so much, not before Pirates. Pirates was really that was the thing that everything, it all turned around. It all just went,
I'm going to go
weird.
forward.
So how did your security team change?
It just says live down there.
Those kind of things, again, you don't really get used to that, so I forget what the original part of your question was. I got lost in the gauntlet.
I'll move on. What about
Well,
Sean Bett? How long is?
You want to go ahead and take a break now? Would that be okay for
That's
afternoon break?
fine. That's
Let's
fine.
Why don't we go ahead and do that? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our afternoon break. Please do, we'll take 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case and do any outside research, okay? Thank you.
Okay, so this is the point where they did a break. Wow. Okay.
Stay there for
Oh, it started.
Regime. My kids are now 20, 23. Leonard Damien's been with me, I believe, roughly the same time as Mr. Bett, somewhere in the neighborhood of 16, 17 years. Yeah, I can't be precise, but they were very young. My children were very young when they joined the team, which was really after Pirates was released in 2003, the first.
Now you mentioned your children. What is Mr. Damien's role with respect to your children's security?
Excuse me?
You mentioned your children
Yes.
with respect to Leonard Damien. Is his role in connection with your children's security?
Yes, very much so. Leonard, Leonard Damien and Sean Bett for quite a while were both sort of assigned, as it were, to my kids, taking them to school, picking them up from school if Vanessa and I were unable to do it, or even if we were there, we would drive with them to take the kids to school.
I'm going to move forward.
Over the years, obviously, made their way into my heart and my head. Those are two very opposing things. So you're trying to you're trying to find the best way to express something to a friend. Sometimes you're exaggerating, something that you've done, just to make it sound, just to make him understand that, I'm on planet question mark here. I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm in this situation, and I know that it cannot continue.
Mr. Depp, the jury's heard quite a bit from Ms. Heard's side about your drug and alcohol use, but I'm sure they'd like to hear from you. So could you please just tell them about your history of substance use?
Certainly. Again, this goes back to when I was a young boy. Excuse me. At about the age of, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, I can remember vividly my mom telling me to go get her nerve pills, out of her purse that was hanging on the back of the door. So I'd go get the nerve pills and I'd bring her the nerve pill. you take it, and after a few years, you start to notice. Well, you start to think about nerve pills. And then she seemed to calm down after she took those nerve pills. So when I was 11 years old, I wanted to calm down, and I didn't know how to. So I'd bring my mom her nerve pill. I would walk away, and I would take one myself to escape caring so much.
I'm just not interested. I want to get to the live bit.
It's live now.
There was a part of me that was a little bit maybe.
Okay.
I actually don't. I have no idea what year that was.
Was it before you were in a relationship with Miss Heard?
Oh no, he was talking about his
Yes.
drug abuse. I
believe so.
Shit.
And you didn't detox, and you detoxed from those opiates during your relationship with Miss Heard. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So of course, yes. So they must have. Yeah, they did come around prior to my meeting Miss Heard.
After you detoxed from the opiates, have you ever taken any opiates ever again?
No, I can't. That's no.
What would your doctor say?
Once you've been bit, you'll be bit again.
How does doctor say
So
something?
no, even with my finger, I think that it was like Motrin 800, but no opiates. No, I have not taken an opiate since, and I won't unless I plan on going through the hell of the pure horror of detoxing, of coming off those drugs. No.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to now turn to your relationship with Miss Heard. Can you please tell the jury how you met Miss Heard?
Mm-hmm. 2000, in around 2008, Hunter Thompson and I were going through some of his manuscripts of his books that have been published, and then I found this manuscript in one of his boxes, and it was called The Rum Diary, and I had heard about it, and I knew it was what they called his long-lost novel, in fact, the only novel he ever wrote. And I showed it to him, and Hunter was shocked. Oh my God, that's where it is, And so he said, read me some. So I started reading this to him, and he said, this is a movie, we must produce this together. And, he got all excited about the idea of doing that. So we went right into it, and we started to set up meetings to get
Have
get
you
money,
seen that movie, by the way?
financing to develop the project. And we finally ended up getting
No, man.
the money.
What
to
was the
develop project
question?
and to make
Have you
the film.
seen that movie?
Which movie?
Hunter.
Rum Diary.
From Dark?
Rum Diary. That movie he's
his
talking
own-
about.
No, I haven't. I saw the beginning of it. I didn't really like it.
Dilemmas
I like the
in his-
writer a lot,
in his life.
but I didn't like this version of the movie. I saw the beginning, and it
Yeah.
was the same
Commit
writer,
suicide.
Hunter S. Thompson, who wrote this.
But I, having had long talks
Oh,
with him,
he
I
wrote
knew
this
every
other movie that he was
angle
in, like the book
the book, but I knew every
Fear and
angle
Loathing in
of the
Las
film
Vegas.
he wanted,
Yeah.
which was going to be a bit different than the book. And
I've seen that. I haven't
Bruce
seen this movie.
Robinson,
However, I'm just
who was
curious.
a great
I've
writer
read Fear
director,
and
directed a
Loathing,
film
the
called
book.
With Nail and I.
What?
How to Get Ahead in
I
Advertising.
read the book Fear and Loathing. It's really
I
good.
haven't
The
read.
one
I didn't
director
read
that
that.
Hunter and I talked about, and so I went to Bruce, who was a friend of mine, and I ripped him out of retirement because he never wanted to direct another film again. I pulled him out of retirement after 27 years, and he agreed to write the screenplay and direct the film, and we proceeded. During the auditioning process, um, Bruce was before that. Hunter had very specific ideas of what these characters should be.
Yeah.
Bruce had been auditioning girls or women for the role of Chenault in the film, and there were this sort of the starlets that were up and coming, and or there were some that were well known and things of that nature. But you know, one of the things that Hunter was very against was stunt casting. That is to say, put a bunch of very famous people in a movie and we'll let them go, and then hope for the money in the end. So Bruce had asked me. He said he had been auditioning this one particular actress named Amber Heard. He said that he'd auditioned her 5 times, and he wasn't sure about her capabilities as an actress with regard to the film and the character and taking direction and that sort of thing. So he asked me if I would read with her for the film, and I had already met a number of actresses and things. And so what I said to Mr. Robinson is, I said, Bruce, I don't. If you've auditioned her 5 times, you've seen the best and the worst, I suppose. So me putting her, this girl, in an uncomfortable situation, you know, saying, hey, all right, let's read this, I think it's a far better idea that we just meet so that I can see how she behaves, see how she reacts, because that's really all it is: reaction, behavior, and you don't have to push anything else, you know. So they made an appointment. She came to my office. I took one look at her and I thought, yeah, that's the Chenault that Hunter wants. That's the one. I thought, yeah, she could definitely kill me. That's what Hunter wants. And so we spoke, and she was sweet as pie, pleasant, again, you know, intelligent, literate, very good taste. And I felt like what I felt and what I told Bruce was, look, when you put someone in a situation that they're obviously going to feel under pressure, it's not the best way to really know what they're capable of. And I made suggestions such as, and which I
Nerd man.
ended up making to Ms. Heard.
Nerd man. Are you
Suggestions
asleep?
of films that might
No.
give her
Yeah, you were.
No, I
Answer
wasn't.
just got arrested again.
into what what we were
What?
looking for in terms of.
Boy, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up.
Share it,
Oh
share
my
it.
Things
God.
like to
Let's
have and have
find
not.
this. Link
Share it.
Sean.
And things
Let
of that
me
nature.
freaking. Is he being serious?
Because I wanted to.
No, he's joking, all right?
Is he? If
This
he's
is
joking.
bullshit.
No. Here it is.
Pull it up.
Oh my gosh.
Pull it up.
I
That's it. Flash movie. He's done.
told y'all. I told y'all, dog.
I said they need to fucking find him and fucking keep him somewhere. I said that.
Here it
It's
is.
done.
It's
What's
over
it?
now.
What's it?
The Flash
over.
star Ezra Miller is on Hawaii Island.
Share
He
it.
was arrested. You don't see it? Ezra Miller,
Can you
now
can-
known for
oh, right.
playing the Flash, was arrested again. Okay, I shared it. I thought.
Yeah. Go for it. What were
Okay,
you
Ezra
saying?
Miller, known for playing the Flash, was arrested again on Hawaii Island. Police sources told Hawaii News Now early Tuesday. It's the latest arrest in a string of incidents involving the star. It's unclear why exactly Ezra was taken into custody. So they don't. Is there an update? Ezra Miller played. No, last month. No, that's it. Because was just happened. Like, this just came out like 42 minutes ago. So we don't know why. But yeah, he's done. Like, he's done. Like, OMG. Homie is, oh my gosh. Ezra. OMG.
Yeah, he's finished his career. Why is he doing it? Something's wrong with him.
Oh, mother freaking MG, dude. Dude.
Unless,
Shout out to Superwise coming through with the scoop. Dang. For real, Superwise.
Yeah, they want to get Sam Coughlin. That's a good shout. Sam Coughlin's excellent. Although he'd make a better villain and he'd definitely make a better Reverse Flash. Sam Coughlin, I used to work with his brother. And he's fucking amazing actor. Really, really good actor. But yeah, it's over for Homie. Homie's done.
Yeah, he is done. Done.
But what's he been like? So they haven't even said Ezra Miller arrest. No, but it's not anywhere else. Nothing's come out in the news. Developing story: Ezra Miller was arrested again in Hawaii early Tuesday morning. It's unclear why Miller was taken into custody. Miller is scheduled to be in court today to enter a plea. No, but this was 6 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
For harassment.
Again.
On harassment and disorderly conduct charges. My life went dark the moment Malcolm left his world. Malcolm was my person more than a son. Mum Karen Mayer said in a victim impact statement. What? What's going on?
I don't know.
That's Mac Miller. That's some other thing.
Oh, the Mac Miller. Oh, yeah, Mac Miller. Yeah.
I thought it was his brother or something. I was like, okay, at least
that's a rapper,
an explanation. Yeah. I'm thinking there's got to be an explanation for them to just.
This is wild.
It's fucking wild, isn't it? He just wants to tank his career. I don't understand it. He doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
What's happening?
OMG.
I mean, there's nothing more we can do until we get more news on why. They're gonna love this. Most of these fucking guys. Oh well. Not much can be done now. Like, why has he been arrested though? That's the curious
Yeah,
thing.
like they're gonna find out.
How
It's like
serious is it?
don't know. See, now what do you think about what I said to you about possibly about that thing about that Flash movie? What I said to you the other day about why they were thinking about putting this on doing day and day because how unstable he is. And you're like, no, no, no. See, what if there's truth to that?
No, I don't think they're gonna do that. Not unless he like has hurt somebody seriously. He has to have
He's
like
getting in
literally hurt someone.
trouble.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not worth not putting it in cinemas for this. He just can't go on the press tour unless he goes into rehab and like gets himself sorted out. Like it's done.
Yeah.
Like I
He's
don't know
like-
why he isn't there already. Like it's crazy to me how he isn't there already. Like no one went to him and just like the people at Warner Brothers are crazy.
It's wild to me. Like this man is like, oh my gosh, we need to do breaking news. Dun, dun, dun. Started holding this ring. Ezra Miller arrested again.
Trying to see if there's anything on like
With
any
mad
detail.
views. And then you put hashtags restore the Snyderverse in the tags, it'll blow up. Watch. I'm saying.
No,
You're like-
it's true.
You're like Snyder like neutral, you know?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I was thinking of the Huntsman director could direct something for DC, but probably not Justice League. Yeah, but I went and I saw it, and the Northman director. I was thinking.
Why
'Cause I
should
went
I
and I
be
saw it.
arrested, Warren? What'd I do? Dang.
God damn.
I thought we
Is
were
that how
I
he's
thought
going
we I
on?
thought we were friends, Warren. What happened? What'd I do? I'm trying to fix my freaking this thing is like horrible right now.
I mean,
Snyder stands in Ezra's claim. Yeah, I mean, like Steppenwolf, it was wild because we had like a big thing. I was on Mad Max's channel, love Max, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about him, but you know, some people were in the chat, especially mainly the people in the chat were like, you know, really trying to give him too much benefit, saying, oh, he was just drunk, you know, and you know, he doesn't, you know, need help or da da. So a lot of the fans that were in the
That's
chat,
the bit that I think is cap. I do
but
think,
they
like, we don't
are
know,
the same people
we
that
don't
stood with
know the
Ray
whole
Fisher.
story. So
And
no, we don't know the whole story. So in that sense,
I'm just
I
saying,
agree with
like,
him. But like the guy someone needs to physically get hold of him if they care
that's
about
what
their
I'm saying. I'm
$1 million
not saying.
franchise.
I'm just saying he needs help. That's
Yeah.
the point. And they were, you know, downplaying it. You know,
Well,
like people in the
we'll see
chat
what
were
they
like,
say now.
he's just a young guy, you know, partying.
Yeah, it's
normal.
like, oh,
his behavior
I've done worse.
essentially.
He gets arrested 4 times in a row. Like, what is that? When you're like a big fucking star and you like, this is the kind of shit that happened to me like very briefly
Yes,
after I broke up with like my ex, and I understand like there might be something emotional going on with him right now where he's like he doesn't care about himself, but he will care about himself in future, and he's gonna have ruined his career.
He could. Look, Robert Downey Jr. Was able to. Like, if you get these things under control, then he can come back. You know,
Yeah, but Robert Downey Jr. had a lot more under his belt than Ezra Miller.
that
Ezra
is
Miller has-
true. That is very, very true. That is true. But that's true. That's very,
like,
very true. Yep, very true.
he's got what?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
because he started acting. He was like in stuff, in so many films. Yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah, and he was really good in so many films as well. Like stand
he
out,
was.
like best
Yeah,
performer.
and
So
the only thing that I've seen Ezra in is what's it? We got to talk about Kevin, or what's it called?
yeah, he's really good in that. He's really good in that Amy Schumer movie.
What Amy Schumer movie was he in?
Trainwreck. He's good in
Okay,
it.
is he in that? I've seen that.
Yeah, he's good in it. He's the
Who
one
does he play in Trainwreck?
who's like she has sex with him, and then he says like something about having a safe word.
I have to go back and watch
Like
it.
he's the young intern that she basically sleeps with.
Okay, I have to see that.
So he's good in that. He's got really good comedy chops as well, and he's good in
And of course, I've seen
something
him
that
Snyder or stuff. But
yeah, but he's also good in the something of being a wallflower. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
I've seen now. I've heard of that movie. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it. And I've seen Trainwreck, but I don't remember him in it. So is that all the movies he's been in? Is that everything?
Yeah.
So Trainwreck. I'm saying in Snyder, and so okay.
He's a very, very good actor, and I think he's very good in The Flash.
How old is he?
I think outside of our community, people who've watched the Snyder Cut, he's probably the favorite character in that film.
Oh, I know a lot of people that said that. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm gonna see how old is he.
I mean, outside of Gal Gadot, maybe the
29
Superman. He was my favorite character, and then Cyborg was really good as well. But he wasn't my favorite character. He was more just like, oh, that's shocking how good Cyborg was. You know, considering I really despise the fact that he's even in the Justice League. So yeah.
You despise who?
The fact that that Cyborg is in a Justice League movie, it pisses me off. But I was even shocked. Like,
is he not in the Justice League?
Yeah, but he's in the recent New 52 Justice League. It's not.
Who's the original Justice League? Because I always thought he was.
Original. You don't know. Wow.
I don't know. I mean, like, I know,
It
like.
was Martian Manhunter and.
Okay, yeah.
And Green Lantern. And then you had Wonder Woman, Flash.
I just forgot, you know.
No, it's okay.
You know, I
basically
don't know
the ones that. No.
I don't know a lot about these things.
The ones that have to be in there are Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Green Lantern. Is there any other? Am I forgetting one? Yeah, they're the ones that have to be in the Justice League. Those 5, there shouldn't be no thing of like, oh, there's some alternates. Green Lantern should be on the Justice League, and Flash should be, and then of course the DC Trinity,
and of course,
and then the ones that alternate. A little bit more, like they're just as important, but like they alternate a little bit more. Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Aquaman and Martian Manhunter, and then you've got then you go into the green. Is there anyone I'm forgetting? Aquaman and Martian Manhunter. Yeah, then it's
you're
just
confusing me now.
No, I'm saying 5 most important that you have to be on the team, as I explained: Green Lantern, Flash, and the DC Trinity. Then there's the 2 that alternate, which is Martian Manhunter and Aquaman. So in different iterations, you'd have either Aquaman and Martian Manhunter, or just Martian Manhunter, or just Aquaman. Prior to New 52. And then when New 52 hit, it was like, that's when you started getting Cyborg on, but it was still all the rest of them were there, you know, like Green Lantern and Flash and everything like that. But yeah, so and New 52 happened in what, 2000, maybe 10 or something like that. Maybe 2009. When did Man of Steel come out? 2009?
Wait, hold on.
Oh no, it was
2012.
2012. Yeah, so about 10. Wow, it's been 10 years. And I still talk about that movie on a weekly basis.
I mean,
It's fucking
wasn't
incredible.
BBS was 6 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the nail in the coffin for DC, man. We've never gotten over it. Fuck. And I was
Crazy.
saying, I remember talking to all the people, arguing with them about like Man of Steel, how it was trash, and then saying BVS is an absolutely stupid idea, and it's just because Batman, they should be getting on with doing Wonder Woman and Flash and all of that. Everyone was arguing, no, it could be good, you never know, man. And I was like, and all those people are now haters of the movie, and I'm the only one who kind of defends it a little bit. Even though I still think I was right. Everything about the castings, everything. Oh,
Yeah.
somebody just came on. Hello?
Who?
Someone else just came on and then disappeared. But yeah, you know.
No, that was
Anyway,
me. That was my thing. I was removing
okay.
it.
Okay.
I was removing
All
the
right.
screen.
Let's hear what, like, I don't know if you want to. Let's finish this.
It was a scene from the book that was a scene where Ms. Heard's character was in a nightclub and
she's smiling. She's remembering
we're
something,
amongst
a memory that
the
she liked.
locals, and she's very drunk, and everybody's very drunk, and
Look,
she ends up dancing with a few of the
she's
local,
remembering when
one
she
of the
first
local
met Johnny.
guys and
She's
stuff,
still in
and
love with him.
the other local guys start to sort of close in on her. In the book,
Is that
and
what you're
in the
getting from
screenplay
it?
as it was written,
I
there was
saw she can't help herself.
there was a
Micro
requirement,
expressions.
a requirement for nudity for the part, and I was on set the day that they were shooting that, and as I was watching the crowd coming in on her, I realized, you know what? Because I would check on Ms. Heard and say, "Are you all right? Are you sure you're okay? Because this is, you know," she was like, "No, no, I'm fine, fine, fine." But I realized that with the crowd surging in towards her, that we wouldn't have to do the nudity, because if she took her shirt off and she had a red bra on and a skirt, then if she had a red bra in her hand, when the crowd surged in on her, all she had to do was lift the red bra up out of the crowd, and there's no nudity, but it's certainly implied, because then the character disappears for a few days, and she's quite a wreck when she comes back because bad things have happened to her. So I remember telling Ms. Heard, "Hey, you don't have to take your clothes off. You don't have to take your top off. You don't have to. Everything's cool." and she was appreciative. But other than that, we didn't really have much interaction until there was a scene where I'm taking a shower, and then she comes into the room and she opens the shower, and we kiss. And that moment was it was yeah, it felt like something. It felt like something that I shouldn't be feeling, because she had her wife, and even though it was a scene, and she had her wife, and I had Vanessa and kitties, and um,
She had a
yeah.
wife.
When would you say your romantic relationship with
One
Miss Heard
time,
actually
yes.
began, if not in that moment?
Well, I think there was something in the kiss in the shower that was very real. Um,
See,
so that day
and you
after,
see her that she's trying to put her mouth
Miss Heard
like down, but when she
come to my
remembers something,
trailer,
you can see it going up into a smile, and then she
and
controls it again.
I was just sitting there listening to actually
Just
old
smile,
blues
you'll
stuff.
look better off. Well, maybe
And,
not.
Yeah,
we
I think she needs to be
had a
smiling.
glass of wine, and
They'll probably be like, "Look at her. She don't care. She's smiling." You know.
and
She's trying to do so much with her mouth. You can
and
see all of this
we
stuff.
kissed.
She's trying not to make an expression. Is what she's trying not to do. I feel
And
like.
at
Yeah.
that point, my trailer was the only
Look at
trailer in
her.
the parking lot.
Her eyes are just blinking.
Yeah.
She had a mind to stay in the trailer there for a while with me, and I didn't think that was a very good idea on any level, especially since there were about 9 Teamsters waiting to move the trailer. And then that was that until whenever we did the first day of the press junket for the Rum Diary in Los Angeles 2 years later, and she had broken up, I believe, with her wife, and my for lack of my wife, we weren't married, but she was, of course, my wife, Vanessa. We had some not so great situations, you know. She was stuck in America. She wanted to go back to France. She wanted to have her life back. She's a well-known singer there.
Did his mic go out?
I don't know. I think so.
Or did they cut it?
And that's
They cut it.
not long out. Yeah, right around then is when Miss Heard and I started to see each other here and there occasionally.
Between the end of the filming of the Rum Diary and the press junket, did you and Miss Heard communicate at any time in between?
She's like,
I don't remember. I remember
she's like, yes.
that there
Did you
was
see her face?
there was a white dress
I didn't actually. What
that
did
She
she?
just like turned her head when they
really
asked him
was
that. Like
infatuated
she
with, and
like
she
she
really
knew
loved this
that
dress that she wore
he
in the
had
film.
reached out to her. She had talked to him.
And so I went to Colleen Atwood, the costume designer, and to Bruce, and I said, "Do you think we can snag this white dress and send it to Amber, after she'd wrapped, because she loved the thing." Um, I remember talking to her, I think, then, but briefly.
What did you like about Miss Heard when you first started your romantic relationship?
She seemed to be. She seemed to be the. Um, she seemed to be the perfect partner, in a sense, in my head for me, because she, as I said, she seemed to be very knowledgeable about old obscure blues music that I listened to and really liked. She was literate. She was sweet, funny, nice, all those things, and she was, and from the beginning of our relationship at that time, for a good year and a half, um, she was wonderful, and then things just
Did we see this
started
one?
to change, or things started to reveal themselves. That's, I think, is a better way to put it.
You mentioned earlier in your testimony that Miss Heard would take off your boots when you would get home from work. What other types of behaviors did you observe in Miss Heard early in the relationship?
Little things that you would that it would just, you'd question in the back of your mind, if if she wanted to go to bed, I'd say, "Oh, well, I can't sleep, right now." And rather than go and just lay in a bed and stare at the ceiling, I would say, I'll just watch. I'll be out here watching TV or hanging out, and that was just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It would stir up some rather unusual reactions from her. I didn't understand why as a 50-some-year-old man, was not allowed to go to sleep when I wanted to, as opposed to when she wanted to. It started out with little things like that. And again, they just,
Wow.
they eventually,
Oh,
they
that's
just,
funny.
I suppose like anything, if they're allowed to continue, then they are allowed to grow. They're allowed to blossom into whatever they're going to become.
What were you and Miss Heard's nicknames for each other?
I called her Slim.
Why is that?
I called her Slim because of the film that I had given her to watch. In terms of stillness, was Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. And I called her Slim, and she called me Steve, which was Lauren Bacall's and Humphrey Bogart's nicknames for each other in the film. That was their names in the film. And it wasn't lost on me the fact that there was an age difference, and that my God, when Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, that's when they met on that film. He was 45 years old and she was 19. And they stayed together until, well, for many years, until Bogart passed away. So, yeah, there was a kind of a joke, not joke, but just, yeah, I acknowledge the fact that I was the old craggy bogey and she was this beautiful creature, just stunning creature.
When did you first meet Miss Heard's parents?
I first met Miss Heard's parents when they had come out to Los Angeles, I believe, and yeah, and I feel like that I met them. I think they came to my place, to my studio, and they were two completely opposite end of the spectrum people. Paige was she was an angel. She was an angel, and I loved her very much. I loved her instantly, and we had a very good relationship. Her father, David, was the opposite end of that. He was this outrageous kind of, almost like a cartoon cowboy, you know. And he was the initial thought. I mean, my initial kind of definition for David would have been rascally, like a rascal, you know. But I loved. I mean, I grew to love them both very much, as well as her sister Whitney. And yes, it felt like I had been welcomed into some sort of family. I had been accepted into this family, and those relationships.
Man, I know. Did you hear? Did you saw what his Ezra's charges were? Did you see?
Until
No,
just
what?
a bit after
I found it. Hold on, let me pull it up for you.
we'd separated.
Okay, let me get
That's
to
a good
it.
stopping point. That's fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and break for the evening. Again, do not discuss this case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay? We'll see you in the morning at 10 a.m.
Oh, wow. So the cross is not till tomorrow. Okay, cool. Because I was waiting for cross. That's what I'm interested in. So go on.
I'm finding it right now.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And then I'm going to go.
Was arrested again in Hawaii early Tuesday morning. It's unclear why Miller was taken into custody. Wait, this is not the one. Miller is scheduled for court date to enter a plea on harassment and disorderly conduct charges.
Yeah, no.
Here's the 13-minute update. 13 minute. I looked at the wrong one. It was a complaint of second degree assault. Second degree assault.
Yeah, he's done. Second degree.
Mm-hmm.
First degree is what? Second degree assault.
I think they might still both be felonies. I'm gonna send this to you so you can.
I'm just wondering what second degree assault consists of.
I think it still might. I don't
I see.
know if it's a felony or not.
What kind of thing would constitute a second degree?
Yeah.
Second degree when someone knowingly causes serious bodily injury knowingly causes injury with a deadly weapon, or recklessly
Yeah.
causes serious physical injury to another. Third degree assault when the defendant recklessly causes when someone knowingly. How's that second degree? That sounds like first degree.
In my, I don't know about where he's at. Let me look it up in Hawaii. Because I'm curious if it's probably a felony where he's at, because it's a felony here. Assault in the second degree is a Class C felony carrying a prison sentence with a maximum term of 5 years. Again, the minimum sentence will be set by the Hawaii Paroling Authority unless the person is convicted as repeat offender or used a firearm during the crime. And that's Hawaii.
Substantial bodily injury. A person can commit second degree assault by either intentionally or knowingly causing a substantial bodily injury to a victim. In other words, a person must want to cause the injury. Such an injury is less severe than the serious bodily injury called for by first degree assault, but goes beyond the simple pain or impairment of a mere bodily injury that will support a misdemeanor charge. Hawaii defines substantial bodily injury as bodily injury which causes a major abrasion, laceration, or penetration of the skin, a burn or of at least second degree severity, a bone fracture, a serious concussion, or a tearing, rupture, or corrosive damage to the esophagus, viscera, or other internal organs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, he's pretty much done.
Felony
He's attacked the
charges.
person now. Like I don't get it. Something's wrong with this kid. And I can't figure out what it could be and why they're not telling us. Something's got to be wrong with him. All right, anyway. Yeah, guys, I think we're gonna leave it like at that. I'm getting like super tired. I've got work tomorrow.
You already fell asleep once.
Yeah, I know. I did.
You try to say no.
No, I didn't.
I do that too, though.
But did you leave me the link to this Johnny Depp thing?
Oh, I can send it to you.
Yeah, I'll send it to me on Twitter if you want. But yeah, we're out, you guys. Peace.
Bye.